Today we're going to read Chapter 9 titled, It's Them. One duck was gray with black and white markings. The other was a glossy green and had a glossy green head and a rust-colored chest. Both had orange webbed feet and long yellow bills. Quack, quack, they said. Annie looked over her shoulder at Jack. I memorized the duck rhyme a while ago, she said with a grin. I knew it would come in handy someday. Jack laughed. Good work, he said. The two ducks waddled around on their bright orange feet, quacking. Answering cries came from overhead. A flock of ducks was flying through the clear November sky. Go on, Balor and Grinda, Annie shouted to the two mallards. Go with them now. The mallards quacked at Annie. Go on, Jack chimed in. Fly south for the winter. You'll have fun, we promise. The two mallards quacked and flapped their wings. First one, then the other rose off the ground. They flew high into the sky. Jack held his breath as he watched the mallards soar away, flying south over New York City. Annie put her arms around the unicorn's neck. Then she rested her head on his silky white mane. You're safe now, she said. But you have to leave us. I have to show you the way to Camelot. The problem is, I don't know how to do that. Agooga, ooga. Jack looked over at the avenue that bordered the park. A big yellow taxi was parked by the curb. The driver was honking his horn. He waved through the window. What's that guy want? Said Annie, sitting up. I don't know, said Jack. The driver jumped out of the car. He wore a cap and a plaid scarf. Hey, it's the same driver who deserted us outside the cloisters, said Annie. The passenger door of the taxi opened and a girl stepped out. She was wearing a purple shawl. And that's the girl who told us to get off at the wrong subway stop, said Jack. The taxi driver and the girl in the shawl both waved at Annie and Jack. Then the driver lifted his cap and pulled down his scarf. He had red curly hair and a wonderfully familiar grin. The girl pulled the shawl off her head. Beautiful long black curls fell out to her waist. It's them, said Jack. Teddy and Kathleen, Annie shouted. Jack and Annie slid off the unicorn's back onto the snowy ground. The young enchanters ran across the snow to join them. Annie threw her arms around Teddy. Kathleen threw her arms around Jack. The four of them laughed and talked, all at the same time. That was you? That was you? That was us. I'm sorry. I told you to get off at the wrong stop, said Kathleen. But Teddy was waiting for you there. And I'm sorry I had to leave you stranded in the storm, said Teddy. But I knew you'd find your way to the cloisters. We thought you guys were these two kids following us, Balor and Grinda, said Annie. Yes, we just saw you turn them into ducks, said Kathleen. Brilliant. Who were they? Asked Jack. Apprentices of the Dark Wizard, said Kathleen. We didn't know they were following you. Even Merlin didn't know. They were pretty creepy, said Jack. Yeah, but they actually helped us without meaning to, said Annie. They knew the unicorn's name. We thought it was Divine Flower of Rome, said Jack. I told Merlin that clue might be a bit difficult, said Teddy. Divine Flower is Dianthus in Latin, the language of old Rome. So do Grinda and Balor know Latin? Asked Annie. Hardly, said Teddy. The unicorn's name is famous throughout the other world. He is known for his great magic. And for his goodness, added Kathleen. We know about his goodness, said Annie. When we ran through the streets with his horn in the air, the blizzard ended, and everyone we passed cheered up and seemed to get a bit more hopeful. The Dark Wizard was trying to capture Dianthus so he could keep the unicorn's good magic from the rest of the world, said Kathleen. Merlin will be very pleased that you have foiled the wizard's plan. In truth, I believe he would like to thank you himself, said Teddy. He turned toward the yellow taxi parked by the curb. The back door of the car opened, and two grown-ups stepped out. A tall, elegant woman wearing a wine-colored cloak, and a man in a dark blue robe. The man had a long white beard. The woman had long white hair. Morgan! Merlin! whispered Jack. As the wizard and the magical librarian of Camelot walked across the snow, Diantha stepped forward to greet them. He bowed his head. Merlin tenderly stroked the unicorn's white neck. Morgan Le Fay turned to Jack and Annie. "Hello," she said, smiling. "It is good to see you both." Her lovely voice washed over Jack like music. "You too," said Annie, hugging the enchantress. "What are you and Merlin doing here?" Jack asked. "I have always wanted to visit New York City," said Morgan. "Teddy has just given us quite a ride in that taxi." Merlin had to tell him to slow down several times. Morgan laughed and turned toward Merlin. "Quite a ride indeed," said Merlin. "Greetings to both of you, Jack and Annie." "Greetings," they said. "Thank you for saving my beloved Diantha," said Merlin. "Long ago he was stolen from Camelot by evildoers. He was rescued by magic weavers in the Netherlands. To keep him safe, they used their art to hide him in the tapestry. I knew I could entrust you to set him free on the day the spell was to end. But your mission turned out to be more dangerous than I intended. I did not know the Dark Wizard had sent his apprentices to follow you and capture the unicorn." "Poor Grinda and Balor," said Annie. "Now they're ducks." "Oh, do not worry," said Teddy. "The spell will wear off in a few days, and they'll find their way home." "Yes," said Kathleen, "and I am sure the Dark Wizard will have some other wicked plan for them." "Aye," said Merlin, "but they will no longer have the use of their black rope." He picked up the rope from the ground and handed it to Teddy. "Take this back to Camelot and see that it is destroyed." "Gladly," said Teddy. "It must be terrible to work for the Dark Wizard," said Annie. She looked at Merlin. "I'm glad we work for you instead." Merlin smiled. "And so am I," he said. "On your last 4 missions, you and Jack have proved you know how to use magic wisely. For that, I now entrust you with one of Camelot's greatest treasures." Merlin pulled a spiraled wand from his robe. "I give you the Wand of Dianthus," he said. "As you can see, the wand is made in the shape of the unicorn's horn. It has a bit of his magic in it." Merlin held the silver wand out to Jack and Annie. Jack took the wand from Merlin. It burned in his hand with cold or warmth. He couldn't tell which. "With the help of the wand, you can make your own magic," said Merlin. "But you can only use it after you have tried your hardest," said Morgan. "And remember that it can only be used for another's good." "We'll remember," breathed Annie. "Thank you," said Jack. He unbuckled his briefcase and carefully placed the silver wand inside. "We must leave you now," said Merlin. He turned to Teddy and Kathleen. "You may ride Dianthus home to Camelot. I will be along shortly. But first, I would like to drive that taxi around New York City myself. Morgan, will you join me?" "Indeed," said Morgan. "But drive a bit more slowly than Teddy, please." "I promise nothing," said Merlin. He looked at Jack and Annie. "Good evening to you, my friends. I will call you again soon." "Bye," said Annie and Jack. Merlin took Morgan's arm, and the two walked back to the taxi and climbed into the front seat. The big yellow car sputtered and then took off wildly. As it careened up the avenue, Merlin blew its horn. "Awooga! Awooga!" And that is the end of chapter 9. 1 chapter to go. See you tomorrow.